Hello. Welcome to TOPHER'S Stories, where stories comes alive. Please subscribe and share with friends. Now relax and enjoy the story. The Lego sun blazed overhead as Vanessa Morgan dashed through the crowded street market to Villalba. Her phone clung to her ear as her mother's voice echoed with panic. Vanessa, the doctor said they won't continue treatment unless we make another deposit by tomorrow. Your uncle's liver is failing. Vanessa's chest tightened. I'm doing everything I can, Mama. I've called everyone I know. Her mother's voice broke. God will make a way. After the call ended, Vanessa stood frozen, surrounded by the noise of vendors and impatient honks of Danfo buses. She wiped the sweat from her forehead, trying to keep her composure. Her savings were gone, and none of the fashion houses she'd applied had replied. Her mind drifted back to that gala 3 nights ago, the biggest night of her struggling career. She'd been selected to dress a socialite for a fundraising ball. That was where she first met Liam Sinclair. He had approached her with a smile too perfect to be real, dressed in a crisp black suit that probably cost more than her entire business. His compliments had been smooth, and his interest oddly persistent. You have the kind of talent that could change this country, he'd said, handing her his card. Now, out of desperation, she dialed that number. Miss Morgan, Liam said smoothly when he answered. I was hoping you'd call. I didn't know who else to reach out to, Vanessa admitted. And I'm glad you came to me, he said. Would you be free for a quick meeting this afternoon? At the Continental? Vanessa hesitated. His tone was confident, expectant. Yes, she said finally. I'll be there. The hotel lobby was sleek and intimidating, with marble floors and chandeliers that dripped like melted gold. Vanessa felt out of place in her thrifted blouse and faded jeans, but she held her head high as she walked in. Liam rose from a leather couch, his smile widening as he saw her. You're even more beautiful in the daylight, he said, offering a seat. Vanessa sat, ignoring the compliment. You said you could help? Liam leaned forward. Your uncle is at St. Nicholas, right? Her eyes widened. How did you? I have connections there, he said casually, and I know about his condition. I had my assistant look into it after the gala. Vanessa frowned. Why? Because I want to help you. He paused and added, but I'm not just here to offer charity. She stayed silent. I want to marry you, Vanessa. Her breath caught. What? You're the kind of woman I've been looking for. Graceful, ambitious, grounded. I want someone real, not these plastic society girls. And I move fast when I know what I want. Vanessa stared at him. You don't even know me. I know enough. I've done my research. You're honest. You take care of your family, and you're not impressed by wealth. That's exactly why I want you. This is insane, she whispered. Liam's tone softened. You need money. I need a wife who won't embarrass me at events or sell stories to the press. You'll have freedom, and your uncle's bills will be handled tonight. All I ask is that we get married immediately. No long engagements. Vanessa rose to her feet, heart pounding. This is madness. I'm giving you an out, Vanessa, he said calmly. But remember, a single decision can change everything. 3 days later, Vanessa stood in front of a full-length mirror in a luxury bridal suite, staring at herself in a custom Vera Wang gown she hadn't picked. She looked like a bride from a magazine, elegant, flawless, and distant. I feel like I'm wearing someone else's life, she whispered. Her best friend, Tasha, sat on the couch behind her, arms folded. That's because you are, Tasha said bluntly. Nessa, this whole thing feels off. You've known this man for less than a week. Vanessa turned, her eyes tired. Uncle Dapo's surgery is booked. He's stable. I didn't have another option. Tasha stood up and grabbed her hands. There are always options. This one just smells like control. He bought your yes. Vanessa looked away. It's just a contract. 2 years. I get my label funded. Uncle gets to live. Then I walk. You think a man like Liam lets people just walk away? Before Vanessa could reply, the door swung open. Mrs. Sinclair, Liam's mother, entered in a tailored purple abaya and expensive gold jewelry. I see the dress fits, she said coolly, giving Vanessa a once-over. You'll do. You're not what I pictured, but Liam always did have odd taste. Vanessa managed a small smile. Thank you, Ma. The woman's eyes sharpened. Don't embarrass my son. He's not a man who forgives mistakes. The door closed behind her, leaving a silence so thick, Vanessa could barely breathe. Tasha touched her shoulder. You can still walk away. I'll get my brother to pick us up right now. Vanessa shook her head slowly. It's too late. The wedding was a blur of lights, cameras, and whispered gossip. Every socialite in Lagos seemed to be in attendance. Vanessa walked down the aisle feeling like a ghost in silk. At the altar, Liam stood waiting with a practiced smile. She noticed how perfectly choreographed everything was. From the orchestra to the pedals under her feet, they said their vows. I do, Vanessa said quietly. I do, Liam echoed, slipping a diamond ring on her finger. The crowd clapped. Photographers clicked. Then she saw him. In the second row, half hidden behind a pillar, sat a tall man in a dark gray suit. He wasn't clapping. His arms were folded, his gaze unreadable. Something about him made her stomach turn. Liam followed her eyes and stiffened. Ignore him, he whispered, taking her arm. That's just my brother. Your brother? Caleb, we don't speak. But Vanessa's eyes locked with his again, and something inside her stirred. There was no smile on Caleb's face, no warmth, just intensity, like he was reading her, seeing past the dress, the makeup, the performance, and he didn't look impressed. The reception roared on into the night. Celebrities danced. Champagne flowed. Vanessa sat beside Liam at the head table, smiling for photos that felt like prison shots. She noticed Caleb hadn't stayed for the reception, or maybe he had, but her eyes couldn't find him again. Later that night, in the bridal suite Liam had arranged at a private estate, Vanessa sat alone in front of a mirror, wiping off her makeup. She stared at herself, not the glowing bride from the cameras. Just Vanessa Morgan, daughter of a petty trader, niece to a dying man, and wife to a stranger. Liam entered quietly. Today went well. She nodded. He walked up behind her, placed his hands on her shoulders. I hope you'll grow to be happy. Vanessa met his eyes in the mirror. Did your brother come just to disapprove of me? Liam's jaw tightened. Caleb disapproves of everything. Don't worry about him. He's not part of our life. Vanessa stayed quiet. But deep inside, something told her. Caleb Sinclair wasn't just part of her life. He was the beginning of a storm she couldn't yet see. Vanessa stood in front of the massive walk-in closet filled with designer clothes, none of which she chose. Gucci, Prada, Balmain, labels she once dreamed about were now hung like trophies in a museum, and none of them felt like her. She picked out a long red gown for a charity event that evening and laid it across the bed. Liam walked in, glancing at the dress. That one's too bold. Wear the navy one with the pearl trim. It matches your skin tone better. Vanessa turned slowly. I prefer the red. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You hired me to be your wife, not your doll. I didn't hire you, he said quietly. I saved you. Don't mix that up. Vanessa's heart sank, but she nodded and reached for the navy gown. The event was held at a glass-walled penthouse overlooking Victoria Island. Vanessa smiled for the cameras, holding Liam's arm while powerful people whispered compliments and studied her like a display item. She forced conversation, praised the wine she didn't drink, and nodded politely as socialites asked invasive questions. Your designs are cute, one lady cooed, but I'm surprised you still work. I mean, what for? I love what I do, Vanessa replied. Fashion is my voice. Liam stepped in smoothly. She'll be taking a break soon. She needs to rest and focus on the family. Vanessa blinked. We discussed that? On the drive home, the tension finally exploded. You said I could continue my work, she said. Now you're making decisions for me in public? I said you could do what you wanted as long as it didn't interfere with the image, Liam said calmly, staring at the road. Tonight, you look tired. And too opinionated. Too opinionated? She echoed. You don't need to impress anyone with ideas. Just let your presence speak. Vanessa stared out the window, heart heavy. You mean let your money speak? Liam didn't respond, but the silence said enough. The next morning, Vanessa sat in the studio room he'd built for her inside the mansion, a room that was spotless, expensive, and dead. She opened her sketchbook and tried to design, but every line felt stiff, forced. Then came the knock. It was Nina, one of the house staff. "Madam, sir said to remind you about lunch with his mother at 1. Vanessa clenched her jaw. "Thanks, Nina." She looked back down at her sketch pad. She had everything she once prayed for. A brand new studio, top quality materials, and the best machines. But the one thing missing was the most important: freedom. And slowly, she began to realize this wasn't a marriage. It was a cage dressed in diamonds. That night, the power flickered during a thunderstorm. The mansion groaned with wind and shadows. Vanessa walked barefoot through the hallway, her silk robe trailing behind her. She needed air or clarity, something real. She ended up near the kitchen and noticed something strange. A narrow hallway she hadn't seen before. Half the lights were out, and curiosity pulled her toward it. At the end was a door. Plain, wooden, unmarked. She turned the knob. Locked. Suddenly, she heard footsteps. She froze. From the darkness, a voice echoed, "You're not supposed to be here." Vanessa turned, startled. It was Caleb Sinclair, standing in the shadows, holding a small torchlight. He looked different, less polished than before. He wore dark jeans and a plain t-shirt smudged with dust. His presence made the hallway feel even narrower. "I was just walking," she said. He didn't smile. "Liam doesn't allow anyone down this hallway." "Why?" He shrugged. "Ask him." Vanessa hesitated. "Is this your space?" Caleb tilted his head. "Why do you care?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "Because I've been in this house for weeks, and nothing here feels like it belongs to anyone real. Just decoration. Like me." Caleb's expression shifted. A flicker of something, empathy? Recognition? Passed over his face. He sighed. "Come back tomorrow night. Midnight. Don't let anyone see you." Then he turned and disappeared into the darkness. The next night, Vanessa couldn't sleep. At exactly 12:03 a.m., she slipped out of bed and crept through the silent halls. Her bare feet made no sound on the marble floor. The door was still locked. But this time, Caleb was waiting. He unlocked it and pushed it open. Vanessa stepped inside. It was nothing like the rest of the mansion. The basement was raw and alive. Wooden shelves stacked with tools. Sketches on the walls. A 3D printer hummed quietly in the corner. And in the center of the room, glowing softly in the light, was a design board filled with codes, wires, and digital prototypes. "What is this?" Vanessa asked. Caleb didn't look at her. He was typing something on a custom-built computer. "I build. I invent. I create things this family doesn't understand." Vanessa walked deeper into the space. "You're a genius, hidden in a basement?" He looked up at her, finally meeting her eyes. "I left Sinclair Corp because Liam wanted obedience, not innovation." She studied him. "That sounds familiar." He smirked. "Let me guess, he's trying to mold you too?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. "You're a prisoner," he said, "just like I was." Something in his voice made her sit down on a stool near the workbench. "You're not like him," she said softly, "because I don't wear a mask." They sat in silence for a few moments, surrounded by the hum of machines and ideas. "You used to design," he said suddenly. "Your old sketches, they're better than what's in your studio now." Vanessa blinked. "You've seen them?" Caleb got up and opened a drawer. He handed her a folder. She opened it and gasped. Inside were her early sketches. Raw, imperfect, and honest. Designs she'd uploaded to an old blog before she got married. "I saved them," he said. "Didn't want them to disappear in the fake gold upstairs." Vanessa looked up at him, overwhelmed. "Why?" He hesitated, then answered simply, "Because they matter, and so do you." Time passed. Minutes. Maybe hours. They talked about life, family, regrets. "I used to dream about having my own label," Vanessa confessed. "Now I don't even know who I am in my own studio." Caleb leaned against the table. Then create something for yourself again. In here. In here. He nodded. This place is secret. Untouched. You're free down here. She smiled softly. Then I guess this is the first real place I've been in weeks. They locked eyes. It was electric. Quiet. Dangerous. I should go, Vanessa whispered, standing. Probably, Caleb said. She turned to leave. Then she stopped and looked back. Thank you. For what? For reminding me that I'm not crazy. That this life isn't normal. Caleb stepped forward. You're not crazy. You're just stuck in the middle of a lie dressed in gold. Vanessa nodded slowly. Then she walked out of the basement, heart pounding, not from fear, but from a feeling of something awakening inside her. Something real. The rain started around 2 a.m., heavy, rhythmic, and soft, like the sky was trying to speak. Vanessa leaned against the basement wall, watching Caleb carefully sew the final stitch into her newest piece, a silver and blue jumpsuit made of tech-fused linen and laser-cut lace. You have surgeon hands, she said softly. He looked up. And you have dangerous eyes. She raised a brow. Dangerous? He nodded. They make it hard to remember this isn't supposed to happen. Vanessa swallowed. What isn't supposed to happen? Caleb stood. This. Us. He took a step toward her. She didn't move. We're not doing anything wrong, she whispered. No, but it feels wrong to want something this badly when it could break everything. His eyes were fire and fear, pulling her in and pushing her away at once. Caleb, she breathed. He leaned in just a little, his voice low. Tell me to stop. Her heart thundered. I can't. And then it happened. His hand cupped her cheek. His lips brushed against hers, soft, questioning, full of conflict. She responded without hesitation, pulling him closer, anchoring herself to the only thing that felt real in weeks. The kiss deepened, urgent and raw, months of silence, tension, and quiet admiration breaking free. But just as quickly it ended. They pulled apart, breathing heavy. Vanessa backed away first. Oh, God. Caleb stepped back too, shaking his head. We shouldn't have. She touched her lips. It wasn't a mistake, but it was dangerous. She looked at him, her eyes filling with something she couldn't name. I don't regret it. Do you? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, No, but Liam would destroy us both if he ever found out. The sound of his name was like cold water. Vanessa turned toward the stairs. I have to go. Caleb didn't stop her. He just whispered, Be careful. Upstairs, everything was quiet. Vanessa slipped into her room, shut the door, and leaned against it, heart racing, head spinning, lips still tingling. She walked to the mirror and stared at herself. For the first time in a long time, her reflection looked alive and terrified. She had crossed a line, not because of guilt, but because she had finally felt alive in a world built on obedience. And that kiss? It wasn't just a kiss. It was a rebellion. Vanessa sat at the dining table, staring at the ornate place settings. The food was exquisite, of course. Everything was perfect, just as Liam liked it. But her mind wasn't on the meal. It was on Caleb. On that kiss. On everything they shared in the basement. The feeling of finally being seen. And the weight of guilt. She was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't hear the door open until Liam's voice broke through the silence. Vanessa, I need to talk to you. She looked up quickly, startled. Liam, Come on, let's take a walk, he interrupted. Vanessa nodded and stood. As they walked down the hallway, the tension between them was thick. So thick, she could barely breathe. Liam wasn't angry, not yet, but she knew he could be. They reached the garden. It was beautifully landscaped, the fountains and blooming flowers giving off an air calm that couldn't match the storm brewing inside her. Liam stopped, his back to the fountain, and turned to face her. I've been meaning to tell you something, he said slowly. Something about my family. Vanessa's stomach tightened. What about your family? Liam looked at her, his expression unreadable. I want you to understand everything. About me, about us, about Sinclair Corporation. She raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Liam's eyes darkened. You've heard of the Sinclair legacy, right? Of course. You built it into an empire. He nodded, but his voice dropped. Not exactly. I didn't build it. I took it. From Caleb. Vanessa blinked, not sure she understood. What do you mean? Caleb gave up his shares, didn't he? That's what everyone thinks, Liam said, a bitter edge to his voice. The truth is, I blackmailed him into it. Vanessa's breath caught. What? Blackmail? Liam's face hardened. Yes, he was my older brother, my role model, until he started questioning everything. He wanted to do things his way, his own vision for the company, and it was wrong. So I made sure he couldn't. He paused, his eyes shifting, as though he was remembering something painful. I threatened to expose some mistakes from his past, things he didn't want anyone to know. Vanessa shook her head in disbelief. You blackmailed him? For the company? It was never about the company, Liam said. It was about control. I needed to win, to prove I was better. And Caleb, he was always the better one. He was the one who actually cared about the business, about the people. But He stopped and looked at her, his face twisted with the rawness of his confession. I couldn't let him destroy what I worked for, so I made him leave. Vanessa felt her stomach churn. You destroyed your brother for the company. For money. It wasn't about money, Liam shot back, his voice shaking with emotion. It was about power. I had to make sure I was the one in control. Vanessa took a step back. And now you want to be part of that. Liam's eyes softened. I don't want you to feel trapped. You're not a pawn in my game. Vanessa, I want you to trust me. I want us to be a team. But you've been controlling me since we got married, she whispered. Changing me. And now I find out you manipulated your own brother. Liam looked away, as though unsure how to respond. After a long pause, he finally spoke. I did it for us, Vanessa, so we could have a future. So you could have everything you deserve. She felt a sting in her chest. Everything she deserved? Was this the price? I don't want a future built on lies, Liam, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam didn't reply. Instead, he just stood there, watching her as though waiting for her to say something more. But Vanessa didn't say anything else. The weight of the truth pressed on her chest, and it felt like a wall had been built between them that she wasn't sure how to tear down. Later that night, as Vanessa sat in her room, trying to process everything she had learned, there was a knock at the door. It was Caleb. Can I come in? He asked quietly. She nodded, her heart racing. She didn't know how to feel. A part of her was still processing the betrayal Liam had confessed, and another part of her couldn't shake the memory of the kiss she shared with Caleb. Caleb walked in and closed the door behind him. His eyes were serious, but there was an undeniable softness in his expression. I heard what Liam said to you, he began, his voice low. About the company. About me? Vanessa looked up at him, her face pale. I can't believe it. He destroyed you, Caleb. He blackmailed you. For control. Caleb sighed and sat next to her on the bed. It's the truth, but you should know it wasn't easy. I didn't just leave. I fought him. I fought with everything I had. But when you're dealing with someone like Liam, someone who's willing to hurt the people he loves to get what he wants, there's only so much you can do. Vanessa shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. I don't know if I can stay with him. After everything. After what he's done. Caleb reached for her hand, his touch warm but hesitant. You don't have to stay with him. Vanessa, you never did. Vanessa looked at him, heart pounding. But I can't just leave. It's not that simple. I know it's not, Caleb said softly. But you deserve more than what Liam is offering. You deserve someone who sees you for who you really are, not who he wants you to be. Vanessa squeezed his hand, her mind racing with thoughts of her future. She wanted to believe Caleb, but the choice wasn't as simple as just walking away. True, for Vanessa, the air was electric with excitement. The flashing lights of photographers capturing the glamour of the event. Models strutted down the runway, their feet gliding over the sleek, polished floor like they were walking on air. But Vanessa's eyes were focused on the crowd, not just the spectators, but the powerful names in fashion, the critics. the people who could make or break her career. She was ready. This was her moment. "Vanessa, are you nervous?" Caleb asked, adjusting his jacket as he walked over to her. His eyes were warm and steady, the same calm presence that had kept her grounded during the chaos of the past few weeks. Vanessa smiled, her heart racing. "Terrified," she admitted, laughing softly. "But it's a good kind of terrified. This is everything I've ever wanted." Caleb gave her a reassuring nod. "You've got this. Just remember, this is your vision, your story. Thanks for helping me make it happen." She touched his arm, grateful for all the late nights and the long hours they'd spent together, bringing her designs to life. Caleb had never asked for anything in return, except to see her succeed on her own terms. He had believed in her when no one else had. Vanessa took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the bustling backstage area. Models and makeup artists ran past her, and stylists made final adjustments to clothes. She caught sight of Liam, standing at the back of the room, his eyes cold as they met hers. "I'll be right back," she said to Caleb before walking toward her husband. Liam stepped forward as she approached, a slight smirk on his face. "I see you're ready for your little show," he said, his tone dismissive. Vanessa crossed her arms, refusing to let his words shake her. "It's not just a little show, Liam. It's my show, my career." He scoffed, stepping closer. "It's a joke. You think you're going to get away from me? From this life? Maybe it's time I stopped living in your shadow," she said, her voice steady. Liam's expression darkened. "You really think you can go up against me in this world? You're nothing without me. Nothing." The word stung, but Vanessa held her ground. "I'm not nothing, Liam. I've never been nothing. And if you keep underestimating me, you're going to lose everything." Before he could respond, a voice rang out from the front of the room. "Vanessa, your show is starting in 5 minutes." Vanessa glanced at Caleb, who was standing at the back of the room, watching her with a look of concern. She took one last look at Liam, then turned on her heel and headed for the runway. As she walked away, she heard Liam's voice call after her, but she didn't turn back. The show was everything Vanessa had dreamed it would be. The lights were bright, the audience was captivated, and her designs, bold, modern, and full of life, captured the essence of who she was. The models moved with confidence, their bodies a reflection of Vanessa's vision, each piece telling a story of its own. Caleb was by her side the entire time, helping her adjust things backstage, keeping her calm, and encouraging her when she needed it. She could feel the weight of the audience's gaze, but it wasn't like it used to be. She wasn't doing this for anyone else. This was for her, for the woman she was becoming. As the final model took their walk down the runway, Vanessa stood up from her seat, her heart pounding with excitement. She had done it. This was her moment. Nothing, no one could take that away from her. But just as the applause started to build, the atmosphere in the room changed. The air seemed to shift, and a hush fell over the crowd. Vanessa turned around, her heart skipping a beat. Liam was standing in the doorway, his expression hard, and his eyes locked on her with a look that made her blood run cold. But it wasn't just him. Behind him were a group of reporters, photographers, and a few of the most influential people in the fashion industry. "What the hell is this?" Vanessa muttered under her breath. Caleb immediately moved toward her. "Don't worry. You've got this." But Vanessa wasn't sure. The tension in the room was palpable, and she knew this wasn't just about her show anymore. This was a showdown. The battle she'd been dreading was finally here. Liam strode toward the front of the room, pushing past a few people, his eyes never leaving Vanessa. The audience watched, whispers swirling as he approached the stage. "Vanessa," Liam's voice rang out, harsh and cold. "This is your idea of success?" "Liam, what are you doing here?" Vanessa asked, trying to keep her composure. "I'm here to show everyone the truth," he sneered. "This whole show is a farce. You think this is your design? Your success? I know everything." Vanessa's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I know how you've been sneaking around behind my back with Caleb. How he's been using you," Liam said loudly, his voice dripping with venom. "You think you're some kind of victim, but you've been using him too. You're both pathetic." Caleb stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Enough, Liam. This is about Vanessa's work, not your insecurities. The crowd was silent, but the tension in the air was thick with anticipation. I'm not going to stand here and let you ruin everything she's worked for, Caleb continued, his gaze locked with Liam's. Liam's face twisted with anger. You really think you can take everything from me? You've already ruined my life. Now you're trying to ruin hers. Vanessa finally stepped forward, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. No, Liam, you've ruined all of us. This is about me, my choices, my career. The room was still, the silence louder than the noise of the cameras clicking away. The reporters were all recording, the crowd waiting for the next move. Vanessa took a deep breath. You can't control me anymore, she said, her voice steady. This is my life, my choice. The look in Liam's eyes faltered for a moment, but it was quickly replaced with a smirk. You'll regret this. Mark my words, Vanessa. But before he could say another word, Vanessa turned her back on him, walking away from the stage. The audience's applause followed, a wave of support for her that she hadn't expected. Caleb was waiting for her backstage, his eyes full of pride. You did it! Vanessa smiled, her heart swelling. It's just the beginning. The days after the show were a whirlwind. Vanessa's designs were everywhere, her name trending the fashion world, and the media was captivated by her rise from the ashes of the Sinclair family's chaos. But amid all the attention, there was only one thing that mattered. Vanessa stood at the door of her brand new studio, the doors wide open, the lights bright and inviting. She had taken everything she'd worked for and turned it into something that belonged to her. No one could take that from her. She stood there, breathing the air of possibility. Everything she had dreamed was here. As she reached for the door handle, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, she found Caleb standing in the doorway, his expression soft and full of admiration. He stepped forward, his eyes meeting hers with quiet confidence. You did it, Caleb said softly, his voice filled with pride. Vanessa smiled. I couldn't have done it without you. I was just here to remind you who you really are, he said, his voice warm. The rest was all you. She took a step closer, her heart racing as she looked up at him. There was no doubt in her mind now. She had made the right choice. I choose me, Vanessa said, her voice steady. Caleb smiled, his eyes softening. And I choose you, no strings, no games. Just us. Without saying another word, he pulled her into his arms, and for the first time in a long time, Vanessa felt at peace. The weight of the past, the choices that had once felt impossible, lifted. This was the beginning of her future. And this time it was hers, no one else's.